Should I tell my wife the truth or shut my mouth for good? My wife is in so much pain emotionally and dying of sadness. Should I tell her the truth or I should just shut my mouth for peace to prevail in our home? 2 years ago, I lost a huge sum of money due to a very horrible business deal that I engaged in, and I lost all the money that I invested in this business. This business I engaged in was so bad that it affected the running of my home effectively. Due to this, I had to change the school our 2 children were attending and subsequently enroll them in a less expensive school that I could afford. I even went ahead to sell my car in order to buy a smaller one. But when the going became very tough in our home, I eventually turned the small car I bought into Uber, but that wasn't still enough for our upkeep. It was at this point that I asked my wife to help me with some money in order to start a business. But surprisingly, she said she couldn't give me any money because she wasn't making enough money from her 2 shops. When my wife and I got married, my finances at the time were in a very good standing, so I bought 2 big shops for her and stocked them with goods all with my own money. And from the very time that we got married until now, I never for once asked her to account for profit on the shop that she might have made from her business. I'll always provide for her, our children, and our home because as an African, where I come from, it is the duty of the man to properly take care of his household. So I never for once complained for taking care of them, but of course, the circumstances have changed now, and all I wanted was some money to help me start a business. I even told my wife that she should consider it as a loan and I will give it back to her when I'm able to stand on my feet again financially. But sadly, she said she couldn't help me because she wasn't making enough money from her shop. Well, her refusal to give me the money did not break me at all because, like I said, I am an African and it is my duty to take care of my home, so I wasn't really worried. Fortunately, I had some good friends who would occasionally send me money, and I was also making quite some amount of money from my Uber. And though it wasn't enough, I was still able to manage our home with the little I got. Then this year, my mother-in-law died. That's my wife's mother. Before and after the funeral rites, a lot of people visited our home to donate money to my wife. You see, my mother-in-law was a very influential and a very generous person. So when she died, a lot of people brought money to my wife as a gesture of a kindness towards them when she was alive. So after the funeral, I told my wife to help me with some money from her funeral donations in order to start my own business. But surprisingly, again, my wife told me that she had sent all the money to her family house as custom demand, and so she did not have any money with her. Yet again, I did not complain. I continued with my Uber business and the little support that I was getting from friends. Then, unfortunately, my wife sadly fell sick and she was admitted at the hospital. During this period, life was really difficult because I was paying for her hospital bills, taking care of our home, as well as paying for the expenses of our children's school fees. Then when the going became very, very tough, I stopped my children from going to school for a while because I used their school fees to pay for my wife's hospital bills. Then one day, when I went to the hospital to check on my wife and to see how she was doing, the doctor told me that her ailment had deteriorated and the only way they could save her life was to perform a surgery on her as soon as possible. At this point, I was totally helpless because the money I needed for the surgery was very huge. I then started calling friends and family, but none of them could help me raise that huge amount of money for my wife's surgery. Although some of them came in with the little that they could do in order to help me. But of course, it wasn't huge enough or big enough for the surgery. So when I visited the hospital again, I suggested to my wife that we sell one of the shops in order to raise money for her own surgery, but she refused. I then asked her to give me some money, at least from her savings, to meet me halfway in order to help me raise money for the surgery. But sadly, my wife said she didn't have any huge amount of money anywhere. She explained that the only money she had in the bank wouldn't even be enough for the surgery. At this point, I was totally confused and didn't know what to do next. So in my confusion, I returned home. So when I got home, I was removing my clothes to take my bath. Then I realized that some coins from my trousers fell out of my pockets. Some of the coins went under our bed and some of the coins went under our sofa. So I bent down to pick them, but when I bent down to pick the coins under the sofa, I discovered something unusual under the sofa. You see, I bought that sofa before I married my wife, so I knew how it was designed very well. So as I bent down to pick the coins, I realized that the sofa was cut and was re-sewed with thread and needle. So I quickly reached out for a blade and cut that portion that was sewed with the thread and needle. And I saw black pulling back stuff into the sofa, and when I opened it, I saw a huge amount of money in the pulling bag with the list of people and their names and how much money they have donated to my wife during her late mother's funeral. What? I was totally shocked and surprised at the same time. So my wife has all this money and she vehemently denied that she didn't have any money, and she even refused to help me raise money for her own surgery. Hey, who does that? Well, I quickly took the money and rushed the hospital and told the doctor to perform the surgery on my wife as quickly and as soon as they could. I later used the rest of the money to buy a new bed and mattress and a new set of room furniture, and I even changed our curtains. You see, we've been wanting to change our bed and our sofa for a very long time, so now that I had the opportunity and now that I can afford to do so, I decided to change all of them. Fast forward, the surgery was successful and my wife was discharged from the hospital and she came home. I was very happy to have my beautiful wife back home, but the moment my wife entered the room and saw the new furniture and the new bed, she burst into tears and began to cry uncontrollably. I stood there speechless while she shed so much tears. I then asked her why she was crying and what the problem was, but for almost 1 hour, she didn't utter a word. Then finally, when she was done crying, she asked me where our old sofa and an old bed were. I told her that I bent them because I decided to buy a new one. Upon hearing this, my wife burst into tears, and this time around, she cried even louder and louder. I again asked her why she was crying so much, but she said it was because she was so proud of me and also because the surgery still hurt a little. Deep down, I knew that the main reason why she was crying was because she thought I bent her money together with the sofa. It has been over 5 months now since my wife was discharged from the hospital, but each time that she lays eyes on the new sofa that I bought, she still cries. Whenever I ask her why she's crying, her answer is that she still feels a little pain because of the surgery, but deep down, I know that she's crying because of her money and certainly not the surgery. Now, I'm beginning to feel sorry for her, and I wish I could come clean and tell her that I did not burn the money, but rather I used some of the money for her own surgery and used the rest for the bed and the sofa that I bought for our home. But I am also afraid that if I come clean with her and tell her the truth, all hell will break loose in our house. She will ask me to refund every single penny of the money to her, which I cannot do right now because I'm still struggling financially to keep our home going. But I feel so sorry for her each time that I see her crying. Should I come clean with her and tell her everything, or just keep quiet for peace to prevail in our home? Ha 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 ha. This indeed is a very funny story. But why would someone be so cruel to the point of not wanting to release money for her own surgery? Hey, people can be so wicked and heartless. Hey, who even does that? Well, guys, do you think the guy should come clean with his wife and tell her everything, since from the story it is so clear that this man loves his wife so much and doesn't want to see her going through any form of pain? Or he should just shut his mouth for peace to prevail or continue to prevail in their home? Kindly leave your thoughts in the comment section, and please do well to watch my other videos, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on your notification for more videos. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.